Welcome to your favorite program, Learn at Home. Today, we shall be looking at Basic Science GS3. I'm your favorite teacher, the Basic Science teacher, Aparanta Emmanuel. We shall be looking at the topic, the nervous system. I want to believe that before we leave this place today, each and every one of you would have been able to explain what is nervous system. You also be able to present the nervous system charts, showing what nervous system entails. Also be able to explain the components of the central nervous system. And you explain the parts of the brain. All this we are going to see today in a brief. The first question is, what is nervous system? The nervous system is that system of the body that is responsible for the coordination of transmission of impulses. That is the nervous system. The system of the body that coordinates and transmits signals and impulses to other parts of the body. The nervous system is classified into two. We have the central nervous system, and we also have the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is made up of the brain and the spinal cord, while the peripheral nervous system is made up of the somatic nerves and the autonomic nerves. Just like I was saying, the nervous system, that system of the body that is responsible for the coordination of all the activities of the body, all the impulses in the body. The nervous system is classified into two. We have the CNS, the central nervous system, and we have the PNS, which is the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is made up of the brain and the spinal cord, while the peripheral nervous system is made up of the somatic nerves and the autonomic nerves. The autonomic nerves is further divided into two and is made up of the sympathetic nerves and the parasympathetic nerves. The central nervous system. The central nervous system. The central nervous system is that system of the body that is responsible for the coordination of all the activities of the body. It involves all the reflex action, the involuntary actions, and as well as the voluntary actions. When we say reflex or involuntary actions, these are actions you don't bargain for. You don't call for them. They are there, and you must obey them because nature has placed them on you. We refer to them as reflex action. And those actions include breathing, those actions like sweating, those actions like feelings of cold, those actions like digestions, heartbeats, all those are included as reflex actions. We also have the voluntary actions. Just like the name implies, you volunteer whether or not to carry them out. Those are voluntary actions. Now, these voluntary actions, things like movement, you can decide to move, you can decide not to move. You can decide to write, you can decide not to write. You can decide to eat or not to eat. You can decide to talk or not to talk. Those which you have authority on, the system controls them also. Those you also have no authority on, the system controls them. but the two actions are seen as reflex action or involuntary actions or voluntary actions. The both are controlled by the brain. Reflex or involuntary actions. Example: swallowing, sneezing, imaginations, responses like sweating, cold, hunger, thirst, heartbeats, food digestion, etc. They are all examples of reflex action. We also have actions that are voluntary actions. These actions that are voluntary actions, like feeding, you can decide to eat or not to eat. That is a voluntary activity. Movement, you can decide on it to move or not to move. That is a voluntary activity. Talking, writing, you can decide on them. Each activity that you have decision and power over, that activity is seen as a voluntary action. And why? Because you can decide to or not to carry them out. But the activities you have no power on, like the blinking of the eye, sneezing, coughing, swallowing, those ones we see them as involuntary action because you cannot decide on them. They must be there, whether you like it or not, they must be there. They are carried out, they are phenomena by nature. We call them involuntary action. But both the voluntary actions and the involuntary actions are being controlled and carried out by the central nervous system. The central nervous system controls and coordinates all the actions of the body. The central nervous system, just like I was telling you, is divided into two major parts. We have the brain and we have the spinal cord. The brain is that part of the body that is protected by the skull, found in the head, covered by the meninges. That is the brain, and it is responsible for the coordination of virtually all the impulses in the body. The brain is made up of over 100 million neurons. They are there in the brain, coordinating virtually all the activities of the body. The seat of intelligence, the seat of vision, the seat of auditory, the seat of speech, everything you can imagine about human being is there, controlled and coordinated by the brain and the spinal cord. The brain is seen as a gray matter. It is made up of numerous foldings that assist in carrying out the storage of informations. And the brain is divided into two hemispheres by structure. The brain is divided into two hemispheres, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. At the middle of the brain, you have what we call the corpus callosum. The brain is made up of four major lobes. We have the parietal lobe, we have the frontal lobe, we have the occipital lobe, and we have the temporal lobes. These are the four major lobes of the brain. Say the parietal lobe, the frontal lobe, the occipital lobe, and the temporal lobe. These are the four major lobes of the brain. Now, when we look at the brain, you see that the brain is divided into two major parts. The right hemisphere and the left hemisphere of the brain. The right hemisphere of the brain and the left hemisphere of the brain is being connected at the center by a very strong matter in the middle that is referred to as corpus callosum. This corpus callosum is showing the division of the brain at the center, bringing the brain into two hemispheres, which is the left and the right hemisphere of the brain. In line with the left and the right hemisphere of the brain is having three major parts, divided into three parts. We have the forebrain, we have the midbrain, and we have the hindbrain. The forebrain, the midbrain, and the hind brain. The forebrain is that part of the brain that is made up of the cerebrum, that is made up of the thalami, hypothalamy, and the olfactory lobe. The olfactory lobe is the seat of smell. The nose is connected directly to the olfactory lobe and has the ability to interpret smells. The cerebrum is the seat of intelligence and control virtually all the reflex actions of the body. We also have the midbrain. The midbrain is the connection between the hindbrain and the forebrain. It is the seat of vision. It is also the seat of auditory nerves. All the nerves are connected in the midbrain, connecting the hindbrain and the forebrain. We also have the hindbrain. The hindbrain is made up of three major parts. We have the cerebellum, we have the pons varoli, and we have the medulla oblongata. These are the components of the hindbrain. The forebrain, I said, is made up of the thalami, the cerebrum, the hypothalamy, and the olfactory lobe. These are the components of the forebrain. The midbrain, I said, it coordinates the forebrain and the hindbrain, and it is the seat of vision as well as the auditory nerves. While the hindbrain is made up of three major components, which is the medulla oblongata, the pons varoli, and the cerebellum. These are components of the hindbrain. We also have the spinal cord. The spinal cord is seen as an elongated cylindrical structure that runs through the neural arc of the vertebrate column. That is the spinal cord. I said it is the elongated cylindrical structure that runs through the neural arc of the vertebrate column. It is a continuation of the brain starting from the hindbrain, the medulla oblongata of the hindbrain. The spinal cord is protected by the vertebrate column. The spinal cord is not the vertebrate column. Some people will say the spinal cord is the backbone. No, the spinal cord is not the backbone. But there is a soft matter that runs through the backbone, running through the cervical vertebrae, running through the thoracic, running through the lumbar to the caudal and to the sacrum of the vertebrate column. Now that small cylindrical structure was in line with the brain to form what we call the central nervous system. That small cylindrical structure is what we refer to as the spinal cord. The spinal cord is a continuation of the brain. A continuation of the brain and runs through the neural arc of the vertebrate column. Runs through the neural arc of the vertebrate column. It is cylindrical in nature and it is a white matter. Just like we said that the brain is a gray matter, the spinal cord is a white matter. Very soft, just like the brain, is a continuation of the medulla oblongata of the hindbrain. We have seen the brain, we have seen the nervous system, we have seen the spinal cord. I will ask, what is nervous system? What is nervous system? I hope you are writing. Yes. What is the nervous system? That's it. Again, what are the two major parts of the nervous system? What are the two major parts of the nervous system? I'm sure you're not just listening at me. You are also writing what I'm asking you to write. Don't just listen to what I'm saying. Make sure you are writing what I'm asking you to write. What are the two major parts of the nervous system? Number 3, write the 4 components of the forebrain. We say the forebrain is made up of 4 major components. What are these 4 major components of the forebrain? What is a spinal cord? What is a spinal cord? If you have done that, we have already seen all these things. We have seen the nervous system. We say it is that system of the body that is responsible for the coordination of all the impulses. Did you get it right? That is the nervous system. That system of the body that is responsible for the coordination of all the impulses. So the nervous system is divided into 2 major parts. We have the central nervous system, and we also have the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is represented with the acronym, the CNS, while the peripheral nervous system is represented with the acronym, the PNS. That is it. So the central nervous system is made up of the brain and the spinal cord. I'm sure you have that. I will say the peripheral nervous system is made up of 2 major nerves. That is the autonomic nerves, take note, and we have the somatic nerves. These are the components of the peripheral nervous system. The autonomic nerves and the somatic nerve. And remember what I told you about the autonomic nerves. I said this autonomic nerve is made up of 2 other major nerves. We have the sympathetic nerves and we have the parasympathetic nerves. These are components of the autonomic nervous system. We talked about the brain. I said the brain is divided into 2 major hemispheres, the left and the right hemisphere. This brain is divided at the middle by a strong structure, which is referred to as the corpus callosum, bringing the brain into 2 hemispheres, the left and the right hemisphere. So the brain is made up of 4 major lobes. We have the frontal lobe, we have the parietal lobe, we have the occipital lobe, and we have the parietal lobes. These are the 4 major lobes of the brain. The frontal lobes, the occipital lobe, the temporal lobes, and the parietal lobes. These are the 4 major lobes of the brain. I will also say that the brain is found covered by meanings, a thin sheet covering the brain. The brain is found covered by a thin sheet referred to as meaning. The brain itself is protected in the head by a strong bone of the head known as the skull. That is the brain. We looked at the spinal cord. We said the spinal cord in line with the brain controls all the reflex actions and all the voluntary activities of the body. The spinal cord is a continuation or a proceedings from the brain, from the medulla oblongata of the brain, of the hindbrain. So it runs through the neural arc of the vertebrate column. It means it's being protected by the vertebrate bone of the back. That is the spinal cord. We also say that the brain is a gray matter while the spinal cord is a white matter. I'm leaving with this assignment. Take this down. Write short notes on the following: the frontal lobe, the occipital lobe, the parietal lobe, and the temporal lobe. Write short notes on the following: the frontal lobe, the occipital lobe, the parietal lobe, and the temporal lobe. Number 2, what is peripheral nervous system? What is peripheral nervous system? Remember, we talked about the central nervous system, the CNS. We didn't talk about the peripheral nervous system. What is the peripheral nervous system? Write short notes on the peripheral nervous system because we're going to talk about it next time. Write short notes on the following: autonomic nerves and the somatic nerves. The autonomic nerve and the somatic nerve are also components of the peripheral nervous system. So write short notes on those 2. I remember your basic science teacher Aparanta Emmanuel. For more information and inquiry, you can contact us on the email aparanta1@gmail.com, and our phone number, WhatsApp number is there, 080-368-40465. Thank you. Stay safe. See you next week, same time, same station. Bye for now. Thank you.